Hello, welcome to the Tracey Napier Podcast. Today I have this beautiful soul in front of me, Miss Cherri Walston. Hi Cherri, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful, Tracy. How are
Great.
you?
Wonderful. I'm going to introduce you really quick here. So Cherri is the founder of Her Exit Solutions, where she empowers high-achieving women leaders, entrepreneurs, and dynamic female go-getters to embrace the power of saying no without guilt. She's also an inspirational speaker, work and life mentor, and author of Her Exit Strategy, the Working Woman's Freedom Plan to Live Your Big Vision. It's a manifesto for women aiming to redefine success on their own terms. And her mission is to unlock women's potential, to accomplish more, and achieve authentic work-life harmony. So welcome again, Cherie. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yes, it's great to be in the room with you, Tracy.
Perfect. Now, I we met not too long ago during a networking event, and your story really captivated me. And I thought you'd be perfect because I know your story, based on what you told me, you shifted from corporate to self-employment. And I know there's a lot of women out there that want to take that leap and
Yes.
are afraid to, and for various reasons. And I thought I would have you on the podcast so you can share your story and hopefully empower women to take that bold step to live the life of their dreams. So can you just kind of tell us a little bit about your background and how you got to where you are today?
Sure. I like to describe myself as a vision-led, purpose-filled woman. A woman who's navigated high demand environments, corporate leadership, and also navigating my own invisible burdens like burnout and a challenging health issue that I had to face and navigate as well. And so that journey has led me on this mission of helping other women in their leadership, whether it's in their personal life, in the corporate sector, and in the community. And so my work throughout my career has been in the training and development field for like 20 years. So I've held various roles in management, corporate trainer, leadership coach, leadership trainer. So it has opened up my world to helping women live their vision because I had a challenge with my own personal vision. And so I always say it's interesting how God always takes your pain and gives you a mission if you're listening and open to it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So tell us more. You mentioned your vision. I know that you are visually impaired. Can
Yes.
you tell us a little bit more about how that has shaped your journey?
Sure. When I think about being visually impaired, I say really to myself and sometimes even to the world, I'm not just visually impaired, I'm visually inspired. And that's a different thing because I don't live by my outer vision circumstances, I live by my inner vision light. And in my early 20s, I found out that I had this autoimmune condition that affects the retina. And so throughout my early years and late into adulthood, I started having all these avalanche issues with my vision, which led me to being visually impaired. So the interesting thing when I talked about, navigating burnout in high pressure situations and in corporate leadership, it was more hiding, which really escalated the burnout, really hiding behind my visual issues. I didn't want anybody to know because I wanted to be seen as capable, in which I am. So it led to a lot of anxiety, a lot of burnout, trying to be always be on point, not, making mistakes. And so now I've learned how to be more aligned and not perfect,
Hmm.
and choosing purpose over people pleasing. And so that freed me in the corporate arena, and it freed me to really live out my inner brilliance, because I believe we all have inner brilliance. We just need to tap into it. And sometimes it takes courage to even tap into that inner brilliance so that you can live by your inner vision light and not by your outer vision circumstances, the things that really get into your way of being that great person that you are and living that soul-filled life.
I love that, and I love that you were talking about like not being afraid anymore to be who you are. I feel like as maybe it's just me, I don't know, but it feels like society as a whole is more drawn to authenticity nowadays, and that just could be my lens, my perspective. But I appreciate the authenticity that made that shift from being putting on this putting a wall up in this facade of I don't want people to know about my visual impairment to this is who I am. This is what makes me unique and powerful. And so I love that. Can you tell me a little bit more about your shift from corporate to self-employment?
Yes. Interestingly, when I wrote the book, Her Exit Strategy, The Working Woman's Freedom Plan to Live Your Vision, it was about helping women have a vision beyond their 9 to 5 job, whatever that looked like for them. Because I was in the throes of holding a full-time job as well as coaching on the side, coaching women, helping them move beyond their perceived limitations. And so, and then helping them create a vision beyond their 9 to 5 job. So little did I know, I was creating the extra strategy for myself because I found myself in 2018 being let go. The company was moving into a different direction, so they no longer needed a leadership performance coach. So it was like, woo woo. It's like, okay, because this always has always been my vision to live beyond my 9 to 5 job, being able to do things on my own, having that freedom and flexibility. So that's how, that happened in 2018. And so when it did, I thought about, oh, I don't want to go back to corporate America. I cannot go back into that environment. I visualized and I dreamed about this day. It's been on my vision board. I wrote it in the book. So I decided, I'm just going to take a leap of faith and I'm just going to do some things on my own, some, contract work. And I've had really great opportunities in different industries, doing things on my own. And now just really settling down and doing the work that I do now as a work-life strategist for ambitious driven woman. It's like for me, I'm not just a coach, I'm a mentor because I'm holding up a mirror for these women so that they can see themselves beyond their roles and beyond their success and find those hidden treasures, the things that they've put off. And so they can look not only good in their lives, but also look good beyond their paper, their success.
Right. I have a similar story. I love your story because I think a lot of people, including me, when I was laid off in December 2022 from my corporate job, I was like you. I was like, I am not going back to corporate. This is not for me. And so I was like, I don't know what to do. What do I do?
Mhm.
And I thought, I'm going to take a leap of faith. And so, around that time, I was starting to receive guidance and from the divine. And so I was led down a different path of speaking and writing and now
Yeah.
teaching. And it's been terrifying, right? I mean, I'll say
Mhm.
myself, it was terrifying. And
Yes.
so how did you kind of work through and how did you keep your faith through that process?
Oh, that is such a good question. But first of all, I am a believer. So I am a woman of faith. And so that's what grounded me. I really take care of myself, my total well-being, immersing myself in things that feed my spirit, doing breath work, meditating, scripture reading, exercising. These are all the things that I believe to help you create that work-life balance. It also helps you mentally because sometimes we have to quiet the noise. I talked about in my book that sometimes we have to be the chairwoman of our own mind because we know that we have those ranting committee members telling us, you can't do this, you're not enough. And so we have to be brave enough and make the decision to choose to move beyond that fear. And that's how my life has been as a courageous woman on this vision-led fuel purpose life is really walking out my faith and being courageous. Yeah, I have fear, but let the knees knock and keep the vision is the most important thing. Hold the vision for what it is that I truly want and move. Take one step at a time into that place where you want to be.
I love that. That's so important action. It's funny. I have a lot of fear right now. Even it's not that fear ever goes away. You have
That's
to move
right.
through it.
Yeah.
And so I've been. It's funny. Not too long ago, maybe a week or so ago, I was meditating, and the song by George Michael, "Faith," and it.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
No, it has, but
Yes.
that came to mind. I haven't heard that since probably, 20 years ago. And it came to mind, and I knew it was God telling me, have faith, girl, have faith.
Yes.
So that is really important. Now, what would you say to women who are in their 9 to 5? They're not happy, but they're not really sure what to do. And maybe they don't have the resources they think they need to leave, or the skill sets, or they think they're too old, and these
Yes.
negative voices in their mind. What would you say to them is maybe the first step toward what I'm calling freedom?
Yes, yes. There are a couple of things, and I remember the first time that I really started coaching. I started working with clients, and there was a time where I would encourage women to really look at your leadership of who you are. I think when you come from a place of who you are, the low points, the high points, what has shaped your life that gives you a picture of who you are. And then you take a look at that, what are the things that I enjoy doing? Even maybe what the things that happened in my past and where I am today, how has that shaped me? What do I want to do with that? How can I help others, overcome, certain things that I've dealt with? It's really about seeking purpose. And so that's where I would start is discovering your purpose, who you are, why you're here, and create that vision and let the vision propel that purpose. That's where the work starts before you can do all these other things.
Yeah, and it's funny because I received a message the other day that was like, figure out what you want to do. What do you really want to do? And that takes just reflecting, it's sitting down and really analyzing, what
Hmm.
do I want to do with my life? What do I want
Yeah,
to accomplish in my life? What's really important to me? What are my core values?
yeah,
And then you take action on that. Even baby steps can take you really far. And
that's so true.
yeah,
Mhm.
I think it's so important to just figure out what it is that you want out of life,
Yeah.
and then go for it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so in your coaching practice, do you find that there's a common thread between your clients of what holds them back from pursuing the life that they want?
Yeah, that I think what's the really big thing is slowing down and slowing down in a sense of we've got to stop being people pleasers. Lots of times we are good at doing a lot of things, so people really rely on us. And what I'm finding a lot is women are defaulting and doing other things for other people and not themselves. So they're giving all the time and the energy to other people and not to who they are and what they desire. And so it becomes a trap. And so you get labeled as the woman who can do everything. I'm every woman. Everybody's calling you and they're praising you. Oh, you're so wonderful. You're I can't remember the name that I want to call. They give you the Atta girls, or oh, you're a super, what is it, a shero. Yeah. And it sounds very empowering and very enlightening, right? It feels good because we like that praise, but it can be a trap if we don't learn how to set healthy boundaries and to say no without guilt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned boundaries because I've been getting a lot of messages for me to watch my boundaries. Oh, okay, okay, watch that a little bit.
Yes,
This
yes.
is more on me, what I want.
Mhm. Right.
So how do we do that? How do we put up those boundaries without saying, without feeling bad and still honoring ourselves while also giving back to others as well?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things when you hear the word boundaries, that sounds so restricting. You think about someone who has this sign in their yard, no trespassing. It's like very loud and harsh. Like, I think when we think of boundaries, look at them as soft boundaries. And I coined this word love lines. You're drawing love lines around yourself of respect, honor, all those things, and you're allowing yourself to immerse in what you need and how what you need is it doesn't have to be harsh or loud. It can be said, it could be something like, at this time and it's season in my life, this is what I'm choosing. But thank you for thinking of me,
Mhm.
and let it land. Not over explain everything, and just let it land and allow people to feel the way they want to feel, and you aren't responsible for your feelings.
Mhm.
You're only responsible for your actions, and you're taking care of yourself, and you do it with smile and grace. And sometimes you get pushed back and you continue to say, not at this time, I thank you,
Mhm.
but I'm moving in a different direction. So it's just a way that you do it. And the more you practice, the more you feel good about saying no with grace.
Yeah, yeah, that is easier said than done, I think, but with practice, it gets easier.
It's practice, but you have to go back to, what do you want? Do you want to create work-life harmony? Is that important to you? Do you want to be in alignment? And if the answer is yes, that's where you need to begin to practice those boundaries, because those boundaries are going to allow you to live in alignment.
Yeah. Now, I know you mentioned about purpose and we talked about alignment. There are so many women or people in general who don't know what their purpose is. Like, okay, yeah, it sounds good, but I don't know what my purpose is. What am I here for? What is alignment? What's alignment for me? How do I know what that is? Can you give any maybe advice on how anyone can figure out what it is they're meant to be doing?
Yeah, well, for the one thing is sometimes it comes through your own struggle and pain. That's how I aligned myself with that, because when I started having visual problems, and then when I wanted to step into my career, I realized what my personality is, and how I wanted to show up, and I was had a passion about helping other people grow and develop. And I remember a time when I got my first job in my field, and then got laid off because the company merged. I found myself serving, volunteering at a women's resource center as a peer counselor. And I felt so much joy and passion and, helping those women navigate some of the resources that we had. But I also found myself coaching, which I really didn't realize that's what I was doing. And that's where I felt like that's where I was at home,
Mm-hmm.
the coaching, the mentoring. And so it was birthed out of, sometimes it can be birthed out your own personal transitions. It can be birthed from something that you really, um, whether you struggle with or something that you really want to help people overcome. It could be in so many things. And also, what's your gift? How do you see yourself showing up in the world? What does that look like? And so I did a lot of the visualizing work. How do I see Cherri? And that's the key. How do you see yourself showing up in the world? And it requires time and reflection. You've got to turn out the noise.
Yes, that is so spot on. I love that. Visualization is so powerful, and I find myself, I do it, and then I tell myself, why am I not doing this more often? Like I need to visualize. Like I know what I need to do, but I find myself not doing it near as often as I really want to be, right? But
Yes.
visualize the person that you want to be. What makes you feel good? What you
Yeah.
enjoy doing? It's about how you feel, and you visualize that person, and then imagine what they would think. What would they say? How did they get there? How did
Yeah.
they feel? And just visualize that, and then eventually become her.
Mhm.
And, it's a powerful process. It's a powerful journey, exercise.
Yeah. And what I want to say about that is when you're visualizing the person that you want to be, really that inner brilliance, that inner vision, it's already there.
Mhm.
And I don't think sometimes we don't realize that we are that woman that we're visualizing. Because as I was doing that and as I was showing up in that way, it was already in me. I just needed to tap into it.
Yes,
It was there. She just needed someone to say, "Come on, girl, let's do this thing."
yes,
Hold your head up and your shoulders back, and you walk into that. And it just becomes naturally who you are.
yes, absolutely. And I feel like a lot of us, a lot of women who want to change careers, and say, for example, like I like to write poetry. And if
Yeah.
I think, well, how can I write poetry and make a living writing poetry? Like nobody makes money writing poetry, and that's not true. I know that's not
Yes.
true.
Yes.
But a lot of those doubts come to mind. Like, well, how can I make money doing this? Okay, I love serving others, and I
Yeah.
love going to feed the homeless. But how can I make money doing this? And so we have this fear of not
Yeah.
sustaining our
Mhm.
livelihood.
Mhm.
And what would you say to those people, uh, those of us who have those thoughts?
Great question. What I would say is change your circle. Get into the circle of people who are doing what you desire to do. I did that a lot. When I knew that, oh, I wanted to train. And I remember I was working for the municipal government here, and I was taking water bills at the time and other tax collection, that kind of thing. And I was like, this is not really what I want to be in life. And I remember going to some of the training classes. And there was this trainer, and I just loved the way she captivated the room and just her facilitation skills. And I visualized myself. I was like, wow, I would love to be able to do that. And I visualized that. And I asked um, her to be my mentor. And so when I went back to graduate school to get a degree in human resources development, I worked under her as an intern. And so I used to interview a lot of women like coaches when I first started out as a coach. I found someone to interview and talk to them about it. How did you get started? What is it like? So I think you have to put yourself in the space of people who you desire, what you desire to do. It's all about the networking in that space.
Yes, That is excellent advice. And those are bold moves. Now, for someone like me, I tend to hold myself back and was
Mm.
afraid to reach out to people. For you to be proactive and like, okay, well, I'm
Yeah.
going to go out and ask people. I'm going to ask this woman to be my mentor. I'm going to go ask other coaches what made them successful and that. So that's courage in and of itself. And yeah.
Exactly.
And
Mhm.
it's an important step. I love how you've embodied this work, and you clearly are a natural teacher and mentor, and I love that about you. Do you have any parting words for the listeners?
Sure. I want to encourage all your listeners. Have a vision for your life. I cannot tell you how important that is to have some direction for where you desire to go. Because without vision, there is no purpose, and really you're not fully living. So please take the time out and do some self-discovery and some self-reflection of your vision for your life. How do you see yourself showing up in the world, even in every area of your life?
I love that so much. Now, if anyone wanted to reach out to you, what's the best way to contact you?
Sure. You can follow me on LinkedIn at Cherri Walston. That's CherriWalston. And also, you can reach out to me on my website, CherriWalston.com. And I do discovery sessions. So, and they're complimentary. So I would love to be able to chat and see how I can help move you to that desired life that you deserve.
Perfect, wonderful. Thank you so much. I will put all that in the show notes. And I just want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your beautiful wisdom and your soul with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure, and thank you for having me, Tracey.
All right. Have a good one. Until next time, many blessings.